Okay, hey team, welcome in. Here's a chart of the moment. We are going to be talking about temperament as the next part of my journal one, whatever. I just did it for Daria one, and I was gonna take my time on these, and I was gonna put them up, I think, for sale. I don't want to do that. And then someone um, did something on one of my comments from a while ago, and now I want to talk about Mars. So we're gonna rip through this. This is a document I made because when I was learning astrology, I would come across a classmate or somebody that might be into it, and I'd be like, "Oh, can I what's your birth time? Can I send you something?" And I would send them this because you can go look up whatever you're going to look up online, and it's going to give you the basics of your placements and what the houses mean. And I found Temperament and Lots from Kelly Surtees and Martin Hermes to be really eye-opening, really personally validating, and the only place I've seen these techniques. So for people that I was just meeting in class or out in the world, you know, they could go read their astro-seek or their cafe astrology or their astro.com, or they could buy a $10 report from anywhere and they could get the basics of their chart. But this stuff I thought I wanted to do it. It was fun for me to do. And then I thought it offered me a lot of oh, aha, deeper things about the way I am that aren't I don't have to poo poo it and shoo it away because here it is. It's explained. So, anyway, we're going to go through this. We're going to fill in the birth the birth basics. We're going to do the Lord of the Geniture calculation. We're going to do an Almuten calculation, and then Predominator, Master, Co-Master. We're going to summarize the temperament. We're going to look at dispositorship. We're going to look at Hermetic Lots. And then at the end of all this, if there was still something to delineate, I would delineate it. So if there was ever a reading that I would have no barrier in doing for people, it would be this reading because I've already been doing it. I haven't done it in about 2 years, so we're going to see how I do. We're going to do it together. Um, but I also don't want to put any of this stuff I'm doing, I don't really want to do it for money. Do you know what I mean? That immediately throws a wall up for me. So anyway, it's still cooking. What we're going to do is we're going to fill that out with Jane Austen's birth chart. Okay, so here's her birth chart. And then I would go to traditional because I want to look at, we're going to have to get this syzygy, also called San. So here's her sun, and here's her moon. Sorry, I don't have the thing on my mouse. We're going to be typing, so that will be annoying, so just bear with me. The syzygy, or the San, is the prenatal lunation. So here's her sun, here's her moon. She's coming into a new moon. So the last lunation would have been a full moon. And so the location, the degree of the last lunation, of the last new or full moon, whatever happened prior to birth, that is the syzygy or the San. And allegedly, it is, from what I have gathered, it's the point where the soul is cruising by and is okay, I'm coming in. This is their decision point, their entry point. So if you're born right after a full or a new moon, it was a snap decision, right? And the longest that process could take for anybody would be like 2 weeks, 15 days, right? From one lunation to the next. If you were being born right before a new or a full moon. Okay? So that's why I want the traditional chart because it's going to show me these things. We also later are going to want the lots, and the traditional chart has the lots. We've got more birth information here. The Fredaria you can get here. You can get zodiacal releasing here. Solar returns, annual perfections, and other things, and then the lots down here. And then more and more and more and delineations. So there's lots on this traditional planets page. Thank you, Peter. Peter runs astro-seek.com. Okie dokie. So let's start at the top here. So when I was emailing this to people, I would have their birth data written out up here just so they could verify that, like, yeah, I had the right thing. So 16 December 1775. 11:45 p.m. And I forget what the town is called, but I had to look it up recently. Doesn't matter. I don't care. We're gonna go down to planetary date and hour. So she was born on a Saturn's day, so a Saturday. And she was born in the sun's hour. And it was the 18th hour of the day, right? So we've got a night chart because the planetary hours begin on whatever day it is at sunrise, and then is broken up into 12 equal parts until sunset, and then is broken up into 12 equal parts until sunrise. So if you live at extreme latitudes and you've got like winter daytime is really narrow and winter nighttime is really broad, that means you'll have in the winter 12 really quick planetary hours and then 12 really long planetary hours at nighttime. Okay? And then we have our SAN, our prenatal syzygy. We'll just write that down now for where I want it. Oh, it doesn't write it here. But it was a full moon, and we'll go over that later. You can see syzygy here is Gemini 1453. So 14, how you get this little degree symbol, I'm on a PC, is Alt 0176. 53, Gemini 10th. And this, it was a full moon, so I can leave this note from the last person that I did that for. What else have we got here? And then we want to look at sect, luminary, and benefic in sect, and malefic out of sect. Okay? So let's look at this chart. We have a night chart, which means the sect is night, the luminary is moon, the benefic in sect is going to be Venus. Oh. And the benefic or the malefic out of sect is going to be Saturn. Okay? And then we can do delineations about each of those things. So moon. Nope. Oh. Oh. Okay, so from here we could delineate. We could also try to get more information. So where is Moon's ruler? Well, it's Venus, and we already have that information. She's in Scorpio in the third house, so that's going to be unaspected. However, Moon is co-present with and applying to the exalted ruler of Libra, Saturn. So that's nice. We can do similarly for Venus, where is Mars? Mars is in 5th house Capricorn. Mars, Capricorn, 5th house to Saturn, Libra, 2nd house. Nice. Why do I say nice? Because in the end, Mars is coming back to this like Libra Scorpio loop, which has somebody present in it in exaltation. So she can see her ruler, he can see his ruler, and his ruler has resources being Saturn in exaltation in Libra, right? And then we can say unaspected to ruler, but has exaltation and resources, his rulers. Oh my goodness. Ruler, right? Because Saturn feeds Capricorn and so feeds Mars by square, and Mars feeds Scorpio and thus feeds Venus by sextile. Sextile can aspect these planets and feed them, but she is in a supportive rising 2nd house position to them. However, she doesn't need to feed them. She can trust that Saturn is like judiciously meeting out the resources that are here, because this is also like one of Saturn's places, right? And then we could include more points. So Moon is trine to Syzygy and square to the Lot of Spirit. Any other 14s? Any other 19s? Well, okay, so they're exactly square, so that's cool. This is a rapier wit, you know? And yeah, we can write that down. So Moon is trine to San and square to Spirit. Saturn is square to Mars. Let's take a closer look at that. 1933, 1936, it's an applying square. 1455, 1404, 1453, it's a separating trine and square. Okay, so Moon is separating trine and separating square, and Saturn is applying square. Okay? And then we want to look at where these planets rule to see what else they care about, because we know that Moon is going to care about 2nd house things, kind of have some Saturnian influences going on, be in Libra, can't see the ruler, there with exaltation, so we've got some things to work with there. But Moon rules Cancer in the 11th house, hosting Lot of Spirit. Okay? Cancer, 11th house, Spirit. Venus rules the 2nd house Libra, that we already know about, so that's great. But what's going on in Taurus? Nothing. So Venus rules 9th house Taurus. Venus rules above and supports it from 2nd house position, and Taurus 9th house, which she opposes. So while Venus can't have like hands on the wheel in Libra, she can directly see, influence, and resource everything going on in Taurus. So I don't think I'm going to delineate very much, because that's tiring and I don't really want to. I just want to show you how I would fill out this chart. And then Saturn rules Capricorn, which we already know about, and has rulership of Mars here. But let's just also check Aquarius, which is the south node. Saturn rules, is that going to be 6th house? Aquarius 6th house with south node 17, so separating separating trine. And let's just take a peek here, because Sun is moving away from Saturn, and when Sun gets to about a little bit more square than trine, about 10 degrees in from the trine towards the square, Saturn will station retrograde and start moving backwards. Now, Node, meanwhile, is also steadily moving backwards, so I don't know that Saturn will catch up, but Jane Austen, I think she died in her 40s, so that's notable, this South Node here in the House of Health. And then we can look more closely at this Mars Capricorn, because now Saturn is going to be feeding Mars, and Mars has to feed Venus, and Venus has to feed these places, and Mars also has to feed Aries 8th house. Okay? Okay, so Saturn, let's say disposits, because that's what it's called when someone's at the top of the rulership chain. Disposits Mars in Cap, Venus in Scorpio, and Aries 8th house. Okay, so if I was sending this to a person, that would be all the notes for me, and then I would start delineation or delineating. Not that one. Okay. I would start delineating, like I would just start talking about what this may come up as, which we may get to later. But now we can look at the Lord of the Geniture. Okay, so I searched online for a table of dignities that has the triplicity rulers like this and the Egyptian bounds, and I couldn't find one. I found one that had the setup I wanted, but they were Ptolemaic bounds. I didn't want to share it, and it had different numbers here. So this is the first page of what I thought was going to be my like consultation book. So it was like my reference page for a bunch of stuff. Here's the bottom of that. That's really big. Here's the bottom of that page. So here's the notes about the Lord of the Geniture. You need to use calculations from the Ascendant, the MC, the Sun, the Moon, and Lot of Fortune. And then for the Almuten, again, we're using this point system. It's going to be the Ascendant, Syzygy, Sun, Moon, and Fortune. Syzygy, if you had a full moon San, then it's considered a proventional life. And if you have a new moon San, it's considered a conjunctional life. And I don't know what that means, but that's what it is. I have my temperament summaries, and then things about predominators and planetary hours and days, and the other kind of chart rulers, predominator, master, co-master, okay? But what we're going to look at is this table of dignities, and if you want this, I have put it up on Imgur? I've put it up, and it will be linked, so you can use this if you want to, and we're gonna go over it, okay? Okay, so first let's just record the information. So we've got 2405 Virgo for the ascendant, and I'm looking down here in this list, okay? 2221 Gemini. For our MC, the Sun is 2457 Sagittarius, and the Moon is 1455 Libra. Oh, we need the houses. Obviously 1, 10, what is this, 4, 2, and then Lot of Fortune is 407 Sag 4. Okay, now ignore those little letters below. We're going to copy paste this stuff down here. No, we won't. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. We can use our table here, okay? So the ascendant is 2405 Virgo. So that's going to give us Virgo here, okay? So our 2405 Virgo, okay? So our domicile ruler is Mercury, and our exaltation ruler is Mercury. And then each of these triplicity lords get represented because we have a day lord, a night lord, and like a co-op or like a partner, a helper. And so I use a shorthand here, which is what all those little letters underneath the list on the left of the document is. And so for Virgo, we've got Venus, Luna, and Mars. Okay, so those are my shorthand for Venus is V, Moon is Luna is L, because we can't have M for Mercury and Mars and Moon, and then Mars is M. And then our term or our bound or our confines is going to be, we've got 2405 in Virgo, so we have to go past 21, not quite 28. That means we are in Mars's term, okay? So since we're already past 21, we can't be in Jupiter, so we're in Mars's. So that's an M. And then 2405, that's going to be the third face, because this one's going to go from 0 to 10, then 10 to 20, then 20 to 30, or 0 to 959, 10 to 1959, and 20 to 2959, right? So we're going to be in Mercury's face, and Mercury is going to be H for Hermes, okay? And then our MC is 2221 Gemini. So again, we're going to have a Mercury domicile. Gemini has no exaltation ruler. Our cooperative, what is this? Our cooperative team here is going to be Saturn, and S is the sun, so Saturn is Kronos, K for Kronos, H for Mercury, and J for Jupiter. The term of 2221 is, okay, so how this works is that it's the degree until, or it's change over degree in between. So from 0 to 559, Mercury has the first term of Gemini, and then from 6 to 1159, Jupiter has the second term of Gemini. So until 1659 is Venus, and until 2359 is Mars, which means that the MC is also in Mars's term. So what that means is that when Mars is transiting the ascendant and when Mars is transiting the MC, it's like he has his own apartments. It doesn't matter if he's in a foreign place or if he doesn't like it there or if he doesn't have any good resources there. It's like he's got his own dormitory. Like he has his room and his stuff and his posters on the wall, and he's doing okay because he's in his terms. So he's got some power there. He's got some leverage. And then the face of 22 is going to be again the third face, and that's going to be the sun's face. Okay, our sun is at 2457 Sag, and so that's the domicile of Jupiter, and there is no exaltation in Sagittarius, so we can come up here. Sagittarius has Jupiter, no exaltation. Our helpers are Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, so Kronos. 2457 is Saturn, so Kronos' term, and 24 is Kronos' Saturn's face. Okay? Moon is 1455 Libra, so that's going to be Venus and Saturn has exaltation. Libra is, and so you might be noticing a pattern in the triplicity lords, is that the fire signs have Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, and the air signs have Saturn, Mercury, Jupiter, and the earth signs have Venus, Moon, Mars, and the water signs have Venus, Mars, Moon. Right? Is that pretty consistent? Where are we? Libra, Saturn, Mercury, Jupiter. So we have Kronos, Hermes, Jupiter. And then 14, oh my goodness, 1455. Okay, so Mercury has bounds or term until 1359. From 14 to 2059 until the 21st degree, it's Jupiter. So we've got Jupiter's term. And then we're right in the middle. We're between 10 and 20. So we're going to have Saturn or Kronos' face. And then the lot of fortune, right here, this circle with the X in it, is 407 Sag. Finally something in an early degree, you know. So Jupiter, no exaltation. We can just copy what's above for the first three columns. And then we have to look specifically at the term because this is going to be very different. So Jupiter has term for the first 12 degrees. And then in the first face we have Hermes. So in Sagittarius, Mercury is in his detriment. That's what this symbol over this column over here is. But Mercury also has a little bit of influence or power or resources from 17 to 21 in his term and from 0 to 10 in his face. So take that how you want. That's how that technique works, I believe. Okay, so now that we have all of this written out, we can give a score to everything. And the score on this is written down in red. So domicile rulers get 5. Oh my goodness. Exaltation rulers get 4. Each of the cooperative rulers, each of these guys get 3 points. A term ruler gets 2, and a face or a decan ruler gets 1 point. Okay, so those are in brackets here. So we're going to add up how many times these guys show up, and then we can add the house information as well, because the house gets a score. So the sun is in 4th house, so that's going to equal, here's how the house legend works. You start at the highest number of points, which is 12, and then you go down to 1, I believe. Let's check the book. So the order of houses from 12 points to 1 point is 1, 10, 7, 4, 11, 5, 2, 9, 8, 3, 12, 6, right? Great. So if sun is in 4th house, that's 12, 11, 10, that's 9 points. And if moon is in 2nd house, that's 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 points. And Mercury is in the 4th house with the sun. 4 equals 9 points. Venus is in 3 equals 1, 2, 3 points. Mars is in, what did we say Mars was in? 5? Mars is in 5. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7 points. I've got old highlighter on here. We'll just have to leave it for now. Jupiter is in 10 and Saturn's in 2. So Jupiter is in 10, which gives Jupiter 11 points, and Saturn's in 2, which is going to match the moon and give 6 points. So that's out of the way. And then whoever's day it is, remember we said it was Saturn's day, so Saturn's going to get another 7 points. And then whoever's hour it was, remember it was sun's hour, is going to get another 6 points. And then we're going to tally up our points up here, okay? So, any domicile by sun? No. Any exaltation by sun? No. Sun is going to get 3, 6, 7. Moon domicile? No. Moon exaltation? No. Moon cooperative? 1 L in here for moon, so that's 3. So moon has 3 points. Mercury, 5, 10, 14. So 14 plus 3, 6, 7, 8. So Mercury is 25. Venus has 5 plus 3, so 8. So Venus has 8. Mars has 3, 5, 7. Mars has 7. Jupiter has 5, 10, 13, 16, 19, 21, right? 22, 22. So 5, 10 plus 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3 is 12, so 22, 24, 26. Jupiter is 26, and then Saturn has 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3 is 12 plus 4 is 16, right? 3, 6, 9, 12 plus 4 is 16, plus 18, or plus 2 to 18, and then 19, 20. And now you can do a check here to see that your points in this row add up to the points you should have. So we should have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 points, plus 4, 8 points, plus 1, 2, 3 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 15 times 3 plus 45 points, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 2 is 10 points, plus 5 times 1 is 5 points. So in total, oh my goodness, we should have for this chart 55, 60, 85, 93 points. You should use a calculator for this because of the brain power, oh my god. And then this is going to be 51, 71 plus 15 is 86, plus 10 is 96. So I'm missing, somebody didn't get their cooperative ruler, okay? So let's go back through it. So 1, 2, 5, 8, 12, 'Okay, so luckily I did Mercury first and that was the one that's wrong. Mercury's actually 22, and so that's going to bring from 25 to 22 is less 3. That's going to bring us down by 3 to 93. Now these numbers match, okay? So that's how you can make sure you've got your numbers right. And now we're just going to add up our totals. So Sun has 7 points in essential dignity, and then 9 points from being in the 4th house, and then 6 points from having the birth chart, the birth moment be in the Sun's hour. So 7 plus 6 is 13, plus 9 is going to be, Sun has 22 points. Moon has 9 points. Her weak little body, oh my goodness. Mercury has 31 points. Venus has 11 points. Mars has 14 points. Jupiter has 37 points. And Saturn has 20 plus 6 plus 7, 33 points. So we can see who's most here. Oh. And this gives us the lord of the Geniture as being Jupiter. So Jupiter is, where did we say Jupiter was? Jupiter's in the 10th house, so that must be Gemini. Jupiter is 10 house Gemini. Let's just look. What am I doing? 1530 retrograde Gemini. It's 1530. Jupiter is retrograde. 1530 Gemini 10 house. Okay, so ruled by opposition and mutual detriment to Mercury in Sag 4th house, because remember Mercury was with the Sun in the 4th house, and receiving a mutual, this will be a trine to the Moon, trine, mutually applying because Jupiter's at 15 degrees going down in degrees, Moon's at 14 degrees going up in degrees, so they're coming towards each other, they're facing each other. Receiving a mutual trine from, and what kind of moon is this? This is a 14 to 24. This is a waning crescent moon because the square would have been somewhere maybe around 17 degrees of Virgo. So now we're in the waning, from waning moon. And then we can look more at Jupiter. What else is going on? Is there anybody at 15? So tightly conjunct syzygy, moving away from Saturn, can't aspect Mars, moving away from the nodes and moving, I believe, faster than the nodes. So that contact probably already happened, if it happened at all. So the main thing going on for Jupiter is this trine to the Moon, this applying trine to the Moon. So receiving a, we'll say, mutually applying trine from the waning Moon, and tightly conjunct 14 San, or syzygy, okay? And then we could also deal with Pisces, which I believe is empty because we haven't talked about it yet. So Pisces descendant, so that's the 7th house, and rules the Sag 4th house that has, as we know, Sun and Mercury and Fortune and the IC. So Sun, Mercury, IC, Fortune. So we can leave that like that. If you wanted to give more information about Jupiter, you could here, but this is just a basic piece of information. The Lord of the Geniture, now you have someone to look at, but we're going to use this later in our temperament calculation. So I just like to get it out of the way there. And then we're going to do the same thing for the Almuten, right? But right here we can put in, we already typed in the syzygy, so she's got a 1453 Gemini, 10th house prenatal lunation. It was a full moon. That's a preventative life, and I don't know what that means, but there it is. And then I've got this little blurb about the Almuten and how I learned it from Sam Reynolds, as like in the myth of when people are selecting their lots to come down and live a certain life, the life they pick comes with a guardian. This guardian is assigned to the life, not the person, and it is there to ensure the character of the life is lived or fulfilled. This planet is the planet signified by this Almuten calculation is not the Almuten. It is the planet that most closely approximates the Almuten, of which there are many ways to get to know and catch a glimpse. So this is the information from somebody else. this part is true. The Almuten doesn't really care that you're a human and you need rest. So if the energy gets too much, ensure you push back and enforce your human needs slash rights, rest, nourishment, downtime, play. So it's the same table and it's the same up here, except for instead of MC, we're going to do the syzygy, right? So let's put this here and we'll, oh, and then here I would do my tally. That's what these little letters are. So like for Mercury or Hermes, we had 31, and for Saturn or Kronos, we had 33, and for Jupiter, we have 37, and Venus gets 11, and Luna gets 9, and Mars gets 14, and Sun gets 22. So her Lord of the Geniture is not Kronos, it is Jupiter, right? But then we can copy this and we'll just make it easy on ourselves. We'll put this here. But now we have to remove this and check this out again. 1453 Gemini. So 1453 Gemini 10. 1453. So what's neat about this is that the MC and the syzygy are together, but they are going to have differences because they're going to be in different faces and bounds. And so we can see if there is a different influence here that comes out for Jane Austen, or if the Lord of the Geniture and the Almuten, or the planet who most closely approximates her Almuten, or the guide of her, of the character of her life, if they're the same. So if the guide of the character of her life and the Lord of the Geniture, or kind of like the steersman, like the planet most through all of the essential dignity and then through like house placement, just seems to have the most influence, the most ability to act no matter where they are, whether they're on the point of the ascendant, the MC, the sun, the moon, or the lot of fortune. Like who seems to have some power throughout it all, who has the most power? It's Jupiter. And so it's like Jupiter is like leading the life, or kind of like that captain. There's lots of captains in the chart. There's the chart ruler, which is like the person that you want to have hands on the helm because it's their chart, they rule it. And then, right, so we have the chart ruler. And then if you don't have the chart ruler in aspect, or if you have someone on the ascendant, they're steering the ship. You have the Lord of the Geniture, which for Jane Austen is Jupiter, as someone that has a lot of influence or a lot of leeway across all the main points of the chart. The lot of fortune, which is the body, the moon, which is the body, the ascendant, which is the body, the sun, which is the body, and the MC, which is the most prominent place of the chart. Across all the traditional planets, Jupiter across all these places has a lot of influence. So we want to see, is there, because the syzygy is in a slightly different spot than the MC, is there a different planet that is more the guardian or the representation of the character of the life, or does it match up with the planet that, may signify more Jane's character? Okay? And it being tightly close to Jupiter, it'd be neat if it was Jupiter, because then syzygy happened with Jupiter, or Jupiter got to this point and was like, yeah, bring my baby in to spread my good word and make fun of everybody in a conversational way, because Jane Austen wrote books in the like 18th century, and is like a bit of a satirist. They're great books anyway. We'll come back here and we'll look at San is Gemini, so Mercury, this is all going to be the same on this part. And then 1453 Gemini is going to be Venus's term, not Mars's, so that's nice. And the face of 14 is going to be Mars instead of Sun. So Mars still retains one of his points here. And then that's the only difference. Now I don't keep all the math from the top one because I'll get mixed up. You know I will. But because there's no sign difference here, we're still looking for 93 points across the board here. But I will take the math and we'll just see if I can not mess it up. Right? So, what was different? Mars lost 2, Sun lost 1. So let's do that. We'll say Mars lost 2 from 14 to 12, and Sun lost 1 from 22 to 21. And then Venus gained 2 to 13, and Mars gained 1 to 13. Oh, 132, new winner. Okay, so across the board that didn't change anything. Jupiter is our Almuten. What changed is they have 13, they have 13, and you have 21. So our Almuten is Jupiter. And then where did I get this note about what they're up to? Okay, so from the notes from Sam Reynolds, Jupiter, what does the Almuten say about you? Philosophize and teach. That's not how you spell philosophize, is it? And then we have a virtue. Which is abstinence, or trusting what is enough and having faith. Trusting what is enough. And then we have a vice of gluttony, or lack of faith. High hedonism. So again, I don't really give a whole lot of information about what that means for someone. I just leave it there and move on. Do with it what you will. Okay, so that's the Almuten. And then we can look at the Predominator. So the Predominator is the most angular, eastern, and non-cadent of whatever we want. Let's look at, where do I have this here? Do I have it in here? The Predominator and the Co-Masters are antecedents to the Almuten Figuris. It is the Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, the most angular, and including succeedent, especially 2 and 11. It can't be cadent. It's the most eastern, and if we want, it's nice if it's the Sect luminary. If neither, then it's the Lord of the Ascendant. So, let's look at that. It is the Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, the most angular, so that's the Sun, including the 2nd and the 11th, and it can't be cadent, and it's the most eastern, and if possible it's the Sect luminary. So if Sun and Moon could not be in that kind of position, or if they were both cadent, then it would be the Lord of the Ascendant. So I would say it's the Moon, because Sun is angular, yes, and it's applying, because this IC is going to get bigger in degrees, right? As we go on, the angles go through the signs. So Sun is very angular, but Moon is in the second house, which is super supportive, and the Sect luminary, and much more eastern than the Sun. So I would go with Moon, but I don't really know what I'm talking about, right? So we'll say Moon. And then from here, find the ruler of the Predominator. So that's the master. So the ruler of the moon is Venus. And then the co-master is the term, bound, or confines lord of the master. So we can look at Venus, and we know that Venus is in 929 Scorpio. So 929 Scorpio, she's in her own term. So it's Venus. So relational, Jane, my goodness. Okay, so those are just some extra fun things to add in, if Jupiter tends to be in a bad space, if we don't want to access Jupiter, if Jupiter is going towards gluttony and lack of faith and high hedonism, or if during a certain transit Jupiter is not available, Jupiter being the planet that is the lord of the genitor and the Almuten Figuris and something right up in the most prominent part of the chart, and ruling the sun and the lot of fortune and ruling the chart ruler in mutual detriment and opposition. So if we don't want to look to Jupiter, like if that seems kind of dicey, we can look to other planets. So we can look to the Predominator if we want to, and then the moon's ruler and Venus's ruler, which we can see on the traditional chart. You can look right there and see that she's in her own term. That's what this ring is. She's in her own Egyptian bound here. So Venus is also someone we could look to, and we would probably want to look to Venus because she's ruling this noise here. So that's what you can do with that stuff. And now we can look at temperament. So temperament is Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury. Moon phase is balsamic, or third quarter phase, and is in the sign of Libra. And season is what solar season are we in? So we were in Sagittarius. And the lord of the genitor, as we already did above, is Jupiter. So Virgo is a cold and dry sign. Mercury is a dry planet, and so we have to look to see if Mercury is setting or rising. So when sun is going up, 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 and rises, has Mercury already risen? When sun is going down, 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 and sets, is Mercury still in the sky? We can see that Mercury is leading the sun in primary motion or in the rising, and so Mercury is a rising planet. So we can say Mercury is rising, which means his normal dry quality will be added with a hot instead of cold. If he was setting, he'd be cold. The moon phase is balsamic because we have this, we're no longer at the third quarter, so we're in the final phase here, the final fourth, which is the waning moon and the waning crescent, so we're in the balsamic phase. So we can keep that. Like that. For the last person I did, I guess we both had 41 degrees balsamic. Whereas Jane is 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 70 degrees balsamic. And I believe you can see that in a syzygy chart. You can look at people's, it'll show you the exact degree of the lunation of your phase. So we can put that here. She's got a 70 degree balsamic, and the balsamic phase correlates to a cold and wet. Libra is a hot and wet social sign. Sun season is Sagittarius, which is fire, which is hot and dry. And Jupiter as a planet is hot and wet or sanguine. So then we just add these up and we say that we have 1, 2, 2 cold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 hot, and we have 1, 2, 3, 3 dry, 3 wet. So we have a primarily hot temperament with even expression of dry and wet. So Jane has some energy to share, some to say, and then she'll express evenly or vacillate, or share primarily, but like very equally between being dry, which is defined, we can say like observant, solo, individual, more concerned with like material, practical type of stuff. And then equally will be wet, communal, emotional, more concerned with like the flow and the connection of things, and the emotional side of things. So she's got both of those qualities. And instead of being a primarily cold temperament where she would kind of need a lot of input and be slow to move, and really absorb a lot and maybe have a more internal world or an internal handling of all this, it's hot, so it comes out. It gets shared. It gets shared loudly, immediately, low filter, and like shared early. She is the one walking into a room and setting the tone instead of being influenced by the tone. And she can vary very equally between whether she's showing up and setting a tone of kind of like being standout or being communal, right? So that's temperament. And then that leads in the document into dispositorship. So final dispositors. A final dispositor is the end of a chain of planetary host, and the rest of this is particular to the chart that is here. So let's leave that bit about unaspected. And we can know that we have edit. So Libra in this chart has Saturn and Moon and is the second house, and so we'll bring in Capricorn 5th, which has Mars, and Aquarius 6th, which has South Node. And then we can put our Scorpio goes down to here. And and Aries 8th, which is empty. And Scorpio is our third house and just has Venus in it, ruling Libra and also 9th house Taurus. And then we have Cancer, which is 11th house and has Spirit. Oh well. Okay. So let's just map that out. We have Libra ruled by Venus, ruled by Mars, ruled by Saturn. Ruled by Saturn. Ruled by Libra, or ruled by Venus, ruled by the Moon. So that's one loop, right? So this is one section of, this is one dispositor chain, or dispositor loop for Jane Austen. Ooh. Oh no. Nope, we're gonna leave that like that. Okay, so there's one loop over there, right? We've got second house Libra hosting Saturn and the Moon. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. Capricorn hosts Mars. Mars is the ruler of Scorpio. Scorpio hosts Venus. Venus is the ruler of Libra, right? Okay. Then we can look at first house Virgo, who has Neptune, which we don't need to include in the dispositor tree. You could if you want to, but I don't have room for many little boxes. And Virgo is going to go to whatever the Sagittarius. Did I delete it? Where'd you go, girl? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, we have Taurus here twice. Okay. So Virgo is ruled by Mercury, so it's got to go down to fourth house Sagittarius, 2 S's, not 2 G's, and that is going to host Mercury, the Sun, and Fortune. And so Virgo has to go down there, and we'll say, oh, can I flip you? And 10th house Gemini, which has MC, Jupiter, Sun, or Syzygy, or prenatal lunation, PNL. And then Virgo and Gemini go to Mercury. Sagittarius goes to Jupiter. Jupiter also needs Pisces, which in a Virgo rising chart is going to be 7th house. And then the Sun in Sagittarius rules Leo. Oh my god. Where's what, 12th house? Okay, so we have 2 loops in this chart. Save and close. Right? Okay, so 2 loops. Loop 1 is Libra ruled by Venus in 2nd house. Venus ruled by Mars in 5th house. Mars ruled by Saturn in 2nd house. So we'll say, no, Venus is in 3rd house. We'll say 2nd house Libra ruled by Venus in 3rd. 3rd house Scorpio ruled by Mars in 5th. And then 5th house Capricorn ruled by Saturn in 2nd house. And then we have loop 2, which is 4th house Mercury ruled by 10th house Jupiter. Right, so what houses does the first loop encompass? It's the 2nd, 3rd, the 4th is Sagittarius, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th is Jupiter. What is 8? Where's 8? 8 is Aries, right? 8, 9 for Taurus, 10 is Gemini, 11 is Cancers here, and 12 is going to be for the Sun. So all of these places and all of these topics are going to be part of this loop here, part of this. What resources do you have? Where is your voice? How much fun can you have? What do you like creating? So what parts of life are trapped or resourced or looped up in these places and may express in these places or may find expression from these places? Like those places will express these themes of, like, that is the dispositing loop. So it's also going to resource and influence 6th house of health, 8th house of debts, 9th house of philosophy, travel, foreign influence, 11th house of greater networks, right? And then the houses that this Mercury-Jupiter loop is going to disposit is we have the 1st house, the 4th house. So what's left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. And the loop itself is being disposited by 4, or they're in 4 and 10. And then the places wrapped up in this resource chain and needing to get resources from these 2 planets in these 2 places that do not like it in either of those places. The first house, the seventh house, the 12th house. So her character, her direction in life, her partnership, she was single, she never married. And then 12th house of like isolation and hospitalization. Yeah, she died young, of like youngish, in her 40s. Kind of just having gotten, I feel like she did have some notoriety, but it's not like she ever made the money she needed to like live well on. She got some money and it helped, but then she died sick and in like some amount of not wealth for sure, right? So the wealth house is all tied up with creation and publishing and writing and debts and greater network, the toil she did. And then the public and the private life are like this is all very angular, right? 1 4 7 10, mutually ruled by planets upset, Mercury and Sag and Jupiter and Gemini. That's a lot. But this went really well for her, I feel. Not the money part, but the creation part. And then unaspected houses. So this is something I had added, I guess, for this other person. So let's look. First house, aspected by square. Great. Second house, not aspected, but supported and has exaltation ruler. Cool. Third house, aspected. Fabulous. Fourth house, aspected. Fifth house, aspected. Aspected, 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 aspected. There are no places in this chart that do not have some kind of support from a ruler. The tightest place is going to be second house Libra, which that makes sense. Like for all her successes, she just needed more money. And why would there be limits even though we have an exaltation ruler here and Venus is coming up? Well, the exaltation ruler is Saturn and Saturn says no. And then Venus is in her detriment here in Scorpio. So like what does she have to provide? Not a lot. So that is a summary on dispositorship. And then we can move into Hermetic Lots, right? Okay, so this whole table I will delete. Oh my goodness. Oh, I want to delete the table itself. Delete table. Then we're going to go into the traditional. We're going to go down. Then we're going to copy this and paste it here. I don't really use these columns. I'm going to do my own thing here. So here I'm going to describe the lot. And then here I'm going to describe like kind of the action or the ruler. Because the place where it is the nature of what hits you, whether it's fate stuff, like stuff you got to deal with, the stuff that happens to you, or whether it's free will stuff, like stuff that you want to engage with that inspires something inside to go after, to like inspire your free will or your spirit. So the location of those things will describe what is going to happen, and then the location and the aspect of the ruler, whether it's an aspect or not, are going to describe how you react to it or if you're able to at all. So let's start with our fortune lots or our fate lots. So the lot of fortune itself, or the really general idea of the... Oh my good God. The really general description of the fate or the fortune that would befall Jane Austen is going to be described by the lot in early Sag in the fourth house. So we can say that there's like optimism at home or quick changing life home events, with the quick changing being mutable fire and then home events being the fourth. So a lot of the like fate that befell Jane, generally speaking, would probably be like changes in family state or home state or living situation. And then we can look at the fortune lots, which are um, Mercury, Mars, and which are necessity, courage, and nemesis. And so the lot of necessity or the lot of fortune to Mercury, Mercury's fortune lot, is describing the type of fate that befalls you that you have to kind of respond in like a mercurial way, or like, did I say that? Or there was a misunderstanding, or now I have to go apologize. It's like some kind of conversational, relational, mercurial type of situation. And so the type of mercurial fate that would have befallen her would be described by this Virgo first house. So the fate that would have befallen her would have been befallen her body and or her character, and it would have been described in Virgo. So we'll say like shifting material states, because shifting for mutable and the material states for Earth. Or we could say that like maybe it was kind of like a pedantic kind of she got too critical, and so she would have to deal with her like Mercury fate with like criticality, because Virgo can be kind of critical or like skeptical, right? And then we can look at the lot of courage or the Mars fate that befalls her. So Martian fate or the lot of courage, Mars's fortune lot, is stuff that makes you like suddenly act boldly that you maybe weren't expecting. So maybe it inspires like heroism and you had no idea you had that in there, that you had that in you. Or maybe it inspires like cowardice and you run away, or you throw off things you thought were important and you're like finding that out about yourself. So a lot of courage is like the kind of sudden stuff that makes you like act now, act without thinking, and like how does that come up? So her Mars fortune lot will be described by Scorpio in the third house. So the stuff that maybe surprised her about herself might have been like her voice or communication style, relationship with siblings. Um, and in Scorpio would have been like deep emotional bonds. So this could be, she really stood up for a sibling or like a nephew and niece or something, or she really used her voice when no one thought that was possible. Or when a family member or a sibling needed her, she like turned away, right? So those could be the flavors of this Mars lot, this lot of courage. And then Saturn's lot of fortune, or Saturn's fate lot, is the stuff that befalls you that you just can't really do anything about. It's just Saturnian. It's there, it's a limit. You have to endure it, you have to surrender to it. And so that is going to be described by Leo in the 12th house. And so for 12th house, we can say like isolation, chronic health, seclusion, if she was ever like jailed or anything like that. Modern significations are going to be like mental health. And then Leo is going to be kind of setting the stage, or the personality, how you want to like show up and shine and have that stage and have, that spotlight. And so we've got a spotlight on our chronic health and isolation. And so that might be that might be harsh. And then we can look at the rulers and see if we get any information from that. So we have the overall lot of fortune described as maybe like quick changing home events or family events, and then that's going to be ruled by Jupiter in the 10th house. So can she react to this type of fate? Yes, she can react, because Jupiter in Gemini can aspect the fourth house Sagittarius, which means that the ruler does have hands on it. She's able to react to this type of fortune. And in what way is she able to react? Well, she's going to react by going into the public life with the 10th house, even to her detriment, because that's what Jupiter's in detriment here, right? So we could just gather it together like that. And then our mercurial fate that befalls her of, what she says, or her body or her character having different material states, or being shifted, or being needing to prove herself and like show the receipts and show the details, um, and like speak up for herself, that kind of thing. Is she able to? Yes, her ruler Mercury is in the fourth house Sagittarius, so we could say that we are able to respond um, with action, I'll say slash choice with the square, about what to be hopeful about and maybe playful, right, with this Sagittarius Mercury. So, how did Jane respond to kind of like criticisms, or like, oops, I guess that happened. Now I have to deal with it on a mercurial, a language, a market, an interrelational type of way. Well, she probably like helped turn a corner and reroute, again to her detriment, but like to somebody's detriment. Like she was probably able to play to make fun with it, um, and turn it around to her benefit. I would think. Well, maybe her benefit, because Mercury's in detriment. We can look at the lot of courage and see that how would Jane be able to handle or deal with these aspects of self that would have come up and been like sudden and not planned and not something you can negotiate with. This would have been a sextile from 3 to 5, from Scorpio to Capricorn. So we would say that the sibling fate that shows up that makes her just spontaneously act, she would probably act in like a helpful, um, joyful, creative way. So maybe she sent money to a sibling, or she helped like a nephew or a niece, or they helped her, or something like that, right? She would be able to respond to the fate happening here in her third house, um, and she would be able to respond in a Mars in exaltation in Capricorn in fifth house kind of way. And then for the Saturnian fate lot, how is she able to, if at all, respond to the fate of Saturn of being in her 12th house Leo? Well, it being Leo means it's going to be ruled by the Sun. Sun is in 4th house Sagittarius, so that's by trine. So, yes, we can react, and it's by trine to Sag in the 4th house. And so she may have like gathered loving family around her when she was ill or when she was isolated, and that would have brought a lot of ability to withstand and deal with the fate that Saturn's bringing here with a lot of nemesis. Okay, so then we can go up to the law of spirit. Okay, so I recorded for like 10 more minutes without any audio, unbeknownst to me. So we will keep an eye on my little thing here to see that the audio is going. And just recap what I did. So it cut out right as I was beginning the spirit lot. So the lot of spirit is going to really generally describe the flavor of things that will inspire your free will. And then whether or not the ruler of that lot can see them and what's going on with them will describe if you can react to those inspirations and the urge to utilize or enact or engage your free will, and then how you would do it. So the lot of spirit for Jane Austen is in 11th house Cancer, and so we may say that she overall has the things that inspire and aspire her to, like, no, I'm going to do that. I'm going to push, past circumstance, or past, just going along with reality. I'm going to engage my spirit, and I'm going to go after something. And so the general flavor of what might, stir those yearnings are networks for the 11th house, and aspirations and dreams, goals in general, who she could maybe rub elbows with, and then the emotions and the connections with it, right? So, like, she maybe wanting to do something for the community or for the people around her, or like to be entertaining or to be nutritive to the people around her, is something that inspired her free will and made her like, no, I want to act. We can look down into the lot of Eros. So Venus's spirit lot or free will lot is like the stuff that you want to feel, you want to experience, you want to be that way, you want to live that life. And so with ninth house, Taurus, lot of Eros, or Venus is spirit lot, we could maybe say that ninth house things would inspire her free will, like travel, philosophy, wanting to be published, foreign influence, divine influence. And then the Taurus flavor may be like wanting to do it in her own time or for her own pleasure. So Jupiter's spirit lot, or the lot of victory, is going to more describe the things in you that inspire you to use your free will because you aspire to have that life, or you want to be known that way, or you could be in that position, or you could be in that role. You could have that greater, identity out in the world. That's how I understand the difference between these two lots. And so for that, for Jane, would have been like she really would have been stirred by having a desire and wanting to go after having maybe like financial balance, right? Finances, or equity or harmony in the resources, or an ability to judiciously share her resources. So these are the things that would have inspired Jane Austen. And then we can look at the rulers and see, does she have aspect? Can she operate? Can she engage, those yearnings and do something about it? So her overall inspirations, yes, she can act on them. Again, with the square from Libra to Cancer, it's going to be requiring like an action or a choice to use her social resources, Libra second house, to do whatever she wants to do here with 11th house Cancer, lot of spirit. And then for the lot of Eros, what does she want? What does she want to experience? How does she want to be? She wants to be published, yes. Can she be published? Yes. How is she going to do that? She's going to go deep, Scorpio, conversationally, third house. So what did she get published for? For publishing a bunch of books about people have conversations locally in their really, really narrow band of community, of society. And then for the final lot out of all of these, or the aspirations to have a financial balance or balanced resources, is she able to act and do something about that? Is she able to really engage her free will to attain that? No. Why? Because the ruler of Libra is in the second house, unaspected from, and is in her detriment. So she cannot enact or engage her free will to accomplish the aspirations to have balanced wealth. Try as she might with writing and going deep emotionally with third house Scorpio, or leaning on sibling bonds, third house Scorpio, she doesn't have control or oversight here. Supportive as she wants to be, she also doesn't have the resources because Venus is in detriment. And yeah, she did get some money, which we would expect to see with Saturn exaltation in here. But then we've got this square from Mars, burning a hole in the pocket or spending money on comforts or feeling good or joy. And then it's all coming back down to Venus in the third house. And she was very close with her siblings. So out of all of her fate and fortune lots, they're all aspected. She can act on all of them. She has a lot of agency in her life, except for the aspiration to have balanced finances or like harmonious finances. She couldn't act on that one despite the yearnings being there. And so like to compare, this was my note at the last person. They similarly had only one lot not aspect. So that is the summary of how to use lots. I'm going to link the video that I learned this from. It goes deeper than that because really the way you describe the lot is the whole image of the lot, including all of its aspects, like the entirety of it in the chart. And then similarly you respond with the aspects and the entire image of the ruler. But this is just like a snapshot summary. And these three techniques I feel like were really helpful for me getting to know my chart better and finding aspects of self that I'd grown up saying about myself that I was like, oh, it fits. So that overall is how I used to compile this information about just some basic stuff, the Lord of the Geniture, the Almuten, some notes on the syzygy. Not that I knew what to do with any of it, but I was just compiling it for fun, using the calculations. And then I have more notes about the Predominator, master, and co-master here. So, um, so we have different analogies here. We have a nautical analogy where the predominator is like the vessel or what's carrying you. The master is like the owner or the captain of the ship. The co-master is the first officer or the co-pilot, and the lord of the geniture is the captain or the owner. So into a heroic analogy, the Predominator is our origin story. The master is the secret identity or the hero. The co-master are like the details or the powers, like the nuance of it. And the Lord of the Janitor is the public facing identity. So the example here is like the secret identity was Superman and the public facing identity was Clark Kent. So for Superman, the Lord of the Janitor is like Clark Kent and the Master is like Superman. So that's what I have written here. And then the final analogy is like a corporate analogy. So the Lord of the Janitor is like the CEO or the president. The Predominator is the founder of the company. The master is the vice president or the COO, the chief operations officer. And the co-master is like the executive or the assistant vice president. Yeah? So the Predominator founded it. The Lord of the Janitor is the president. The master is the vice president or the chief operations officer, and the co-master is the assistant to that, right? Yeah, I have master and lord of the janitor even with the nautical analogy as like master is owner slash captain and lord of the janitor is captain slash owner. So I think it's vague for everybody. Like who really knows, right? But it's just different ways to get at like chart rulers and the idea of like who you are and what your ship is and what your path is and where you're going and that kind of stuff. And then at some point I had said that in the synastry chart, there's more lunar information, so you can get the name of the moon, the phase of the moon, some words for it, and then the total out of 360-degree phase. So this is my moon and this is Jane's moon, and then we can look at our chart just for fun. So I've got my ascendant on her Venus, and we have a nodal opposition going on, and her I see on my moon. So that's cool, right? Okay. That is what I have about yeah, these techniques. I don't think I'll share this document. Feel free to make your own. Hopefully that wasn't too boring seeing me create it in real time. Yeah, this takes care of like the temperament side of like journal 1 and the final dispositors side of journal 1, and then Hermetic Lots ended up being journal 2, but they all came onto this one document as stuff that I thought was kind of not as common to find online. So if I met someone, yeah, that I wanted to do some astrology for, I didn't want to just go through the chart. Normally, you can get that information anywhere. I wanted to do some of this deeper, more special stuff that I found really resonant for me, and so maybe just typing up something like this, um, or letting people know like with bigger description like what areas of life work together on the same team or work together with the same resource chain. Maybe that's really validating to see laid out like that, right? Without needing to go really deep into the astrology. And this was always free when I did it for someone, so it was like I'm gonna email you a bunch of noise that you can't really understand, and it's not my problem. I want to do the document. So anyway, yeah, there we go. We'll see. Here's the time now for finishing this recording. Okay. Bye bye.